I was asked, how do you defeat a hook arm wrestler when you cannot top roll him? So, a great way to attack a hooker is attacking their rotation, the rotation of their arm, right? If you can get a hooker to turn his hand over, you're going to get him in a better position. A lot of hookers will focus just on the cupping of their wrist, and they won't be following through up high, attacking the hand at all. So, if I know that I cannot top roll my opponent successfully, I'll still try and give their fingers a little bit of pressure, and initially I'm going to attack their rotation of their arm high, okay? I'm going to try to do it high. But this will more than likely be unsuccessful against a strong hooker. I will still open that way, and as they start to come back on the pad, I'm going to switch to a shoulder press forward. I'll show again. So I'm loading high, and I'll jam forward, trying to jam their rotator. The key to it is when he bends his wrist, this is my hole to attack in a shoulder press. Right? So I'm driving up, and there I am. I can jam into his rotation. Now, as he jams, as I jam his rotator, if he resets, I try and rotate high. And then as he goes again, I jam low. And I will repeat this process until I can finally rotate him high. So, low hand top roll. Low hand top roll is a great way to take a guy down. The thing is with top rolling is hand control starts from the top. Okay? So, if I know that I have a stronger hand up top than a guy, okay, I'll take it there until he switches. Okay? Once I feel that he's no longer, I'll keep fighting up top if I have that spot until he switches. When I start to feel that he's trying to do a hooking pressure, you know, or carving in on me, that's when I can switch and attack the bottom of his hand. Attack this finger, okay? I'm going to stay high until he switches. And there I go. There's my low hand top roll. Okay? If he tries to come back up, I'm always ready to take it back. Okay? Because you can't really have a good low hand top roll without having high hand control. What's going on in a low hand top roll? I got, so come on, and we'll just, he's just hooking me. He's not challenging me up high at all. Okay? So I'm pulling through my bicep up high. I'm spinning off my thumb, and I'm cupping in. And I'm also pushing down just a little bit with the base of my hand. So I'm pulling up, I'm pushing down with my hand, I'm spinning with my thumb, and I'm cupping. So those things are all going on kind of at the same time. And all that pressure should translate right into the base of his hand. So ready, go, and there I go. I got my spot, and then I can just continue right over through the bottom of his hand there.
We've got a question from Austin Slater. He has a question regarding wrist curl movements. If you prefer static holds, reps, and depending on which you answer, how many reps or how long are the static holds?
Well, for arm wrestling, I think my favorite thing when thinking about arm wrestling peak strength is I do static lifts. So something like that would be like I'd have my thick bar. Okay, this is great for your wrist. I do a static lift through the wrist off the ground. Okay, so if I can get it off the ground in control, that's considered a lift. Okay, and I could do reps of that, but when approaching competition, I put a lot of weight in how much I can do for a single rep, or maybe two. Okay, but single rep, static lift off the ground is very important. Okay, you can do the same kind of exercise with a hold. Okay, just pick the weight up and hold, and all the stress, if it's a thick bar, so long as it's revolving, is going to be on the wrist. Very similar to the pressure you're going to feel forcing a hook on somebody, resisting a top rolling pressure. I do rep movements of a similar thing, and they're good, especially for blood flow. Something like this, I make my movements fast, you know, something like that. And to get even more specific, I'd be doing it on a table, you know, with a pulley, something like this, you know, working specific angles, same pressure through the wrist. Okay, so after looking at the response that we gave you about the defensive hook, kind of made me think about some advice I received a couple years ago from Engin Terzi. I used to spend a lot of time in defensive hook. Like, so many of my matches, I'd either get a guy quick, but more often I'd get him in a hook where I was turned over, or we'd be going, and I'd end up here, and I'd have some great fights, and you know, I'd end up winning or losing, whatever. But I spent a lot of time in defensive hook. Engin Terzi sends me an email, and he's like, Devon, you're doing great, but you need more rotational strength. And I was like, fuck, Engin Terzi, whatever, a-hole. But, you know, I went over it, and he was dead on. He was bang on, okay? I was giving up way too much rotation, and that's the real answer to your question, I think, is not to get stronger in the defensive hook, but avoid getting there in the first place. The best one that I've come up with, and I might have shown you this already, is the towel. The belt. Wrap it, okay? Put it in between your thumb knuckle, first one and the second one. Okay, have it running flat, down, right along pretty much in line with your knuckles. Okay, so it's nice and high. Okay, and do your curl. Okay, just imagine that this continues to a weight, and right now it's on the floor and it's got tension, and that's my lift right there. And so yes, you're working your bicep strength, but in conjunction with rotational strength through your thumb. Okay, and that's going to keep you out of getting turned. Okay, people are going to have a harder time turning your hand over, right? Because you're strong there through your thumb on the table. Okay, John tries to turn me into a hook, and I'm turning with him. Okay, and yeah, I can do all my moves from here. I can hook, post. You know, I can still come inside. Okay, just because you're still going to use the defensive hook, but you're not going to have to go all the way in like you would have before. Okay, you can fight, just do a little pop because you still have more control. Anyways, I hope that helps you a bit. Defensive hook is a flawed move. Okay, it's a bad idea to shoot for it, but it's still good to be strong there. Right, top roll?
Sorry, you
okay. I got you holding on to me, right? You got it? You're holding on to me? And all I'm doing is I'm keeping some bicep and bending my wrist in and not letting you bend mine. So here we go.
I also cheated. If you guys are watching.
And see my head? Falling away. Falling away.
Because if I didn't, it was going that way.
See my hand? I'm bending it in. I'm cupping it in. It's not like this. This is kind of more what you're doing. You're doing too much.
I just chased you out.
Hold on to me. You're doing too much of this. Okay? You're spinning out too far. Okay? Keep together. Make it like this. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So make me hold on to you. Tie up a little bit. Tie up.
I don't know, it's pretty blatant.
There you go.
No, I just look like I'm on here, but like Gilbert Bowl.
Okay.
It feels obvious. It feels obvious, but it doesn't look obvious. Oh, he's not doing it. He's purposely trying to deliver.
Now hold on to you. Just bend that wrist and head to the corner. Keep your head close to the table. Pull up. Pull up. There, you're not pulling up. You're not pulling up. There. Not not bad. Keep your hip in contact with the table. Yeah.
I'm going to that.
Because you're prying off your hip. Yeah. Pull up. Yeah. Elbow inside the body. Inside. Over here. That's it.
Looks like. So he.
Yeah. Now bend your wrist. Head to the corner. Pry off your hip. Now you're pushing. Push this. Watch this. Okay. See. Okay. Very slow. I'm going to come here. Okay. Pulling up. Right. You got I'm on. Right. You feel how I'm pulling up?
That was one side.
I'm just bending my wrist.
I was completely one side and I'm pulling the other. There was no.
See this?
That's big sister, right?
Yes. Elbow inside. Elbow inside the body. Good. Pull
I
up.
shouldn't be going
Good.
from here.
Bend the wrist. All the way. Yes.
Oh, there's a big transition now. All my injuries come from big transitions.
Yeah. Bend the wrist all the way.
Yeah, there was no.
Yeah.
I'm going this way,
Yes.
and then I like jump
Do it again.
this way around like
Yes.
transition like that. That's why I always get.
You're really old.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always want to know if I can. If I feel like catching my arms together,
Give it to me again.
Yeah.
Good.
Wow.
Yes.
it hurts. That's why.
Again.
Well,
Yeah. Good. You're breaking in the side. Keep pulling up the whole time.
arm wrestling's not a
Throughout the whole
sport
thing.
like dainty
Yeah. Pull
or.
up. That's it. Keep that. Yes. Good job.
Oh my.
Okay, the question was to us, how do you properly set up your top roll? So the key to a top roll is you want to peel through your opponent's hand and fingers, right? Like so, taking the person's hand right to the pin line. The key to taking a person's hand is first they have to be holding on to you from the top. So you have a superior post. Right now, because I have my hand strength up and loaded through my bicep, has got pressure on the back of my hand by his fingertips. This is how I know that I have a chance of top rolling my opponent. The key to setting up a good top roll attack is through the rotation of your hand. Like any arm wrestler knows, real strength in arm wrestling is in the negative cycle. Right? As you do any drive, any strong drive, you're going to open up a tiny bit. This means you're in the negative cycle of the muscle. And this is where you're truly strong. Static, you're fairly strong, but in the negative is where the real strength is. So you want to take maximum advantage of that through the rotation of your hand. You don't want to set up square. Right now, I can still turn my hand over more. That means my rotator is not fully locked. I want to set up with my rotator locked over. What that means is I have to get my arm farther inside my body. So when my opponent takes a grip, okay, I can't turn my hand any farther over. When I go to roll, ready, go, I have a long negative cycle before my rotator is finished. So hopefully, even if he slows down my rotator a bit, I can still finish with top roll pressure. But on a good lock rotator, I should be able to finish strong. Amendments to this, side notes to this. When you're in deep like this also, you have more angles to threaten. From shoulder press, all the way back out to top roll. Also, a point to note on this is your post is not necessarily going to be set up through your bicep as much as it will be through your side pressure. You will be posting not necessarily through your bicep, but more through side pressure when you have a locked rotator. Hi, hookers. Talk a little bit about the hook tonight. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking when they're hooking that they're trying to just open their opponent's arm up. I believe that the key to winning in a hook is attacking the rotator. This is nothing new, but I'll show how I try and try and get to that rotator. Okay, so first thing is I try and attack his arm angle here a little bit. And I do that by just connecting my elbow to as far inside my body as I can. I got pretty good flexibility, so I can definitely get it inside of my belly button. Okay, that's step one. So I'm pulling my elbow as close to the left side of my body as I can when I'm arm wrestling right-handed, and I'm cupping my wrist. Okay, so step one, right here. Here I start to pull it in. Okay, as soon as I get to about here, see this angle? It starts to open a little bit. Okay, and I'm starting to already target it on his rotator. Okay, and here we are. Okay, this is as far as I can go with that. Now the thing is if I'm successful in turning him this way and not myself being turned over, okay, this is when I'm in good position. Okay, so I'm focusing on not getting turned over, pulling in, and turning him over. Now my flexibility here, okay, is relative to his flexibility here. Okay, so once I turn in as far as I can, he's probably maxed out in his rotation as well. Okay, now the mistake that a lot of people make is they try to push the arm down. Not necessary. Okay, what you can do from here is you can continue to target his rotation. You have to keep this angle which you've secured. Okay, you have to keep this so that he can't access his rotation through there. And then you start to rotate into his rotator through the bottom of your hand. Okay, through the bottom of your hand. Okay, so I have him in tight, and now keeping him in tight, I start to continue to roll, and his body is forced to come with it, or it's going to isolate his rotator and cause him damage. Okay, so again, first step, trying to open him a bit, but definitely attack his rotator without being turned myself. And in, and now from here, continue to rotate. The whole time, keeping close. Looking all together. Okay, the way you can train this is with a tool like this. From the ceiling, okay, pulley goes here, angle, something like this, okay, so it's in between your thumb and your second finger, coming down, okay, this kind of strength. This kind of strength is good for the last step of your hook, okay, the first step and then the last bit, okay, might help you, hope it does, take it easy, high hooker. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the aspect of hooking in arm wrestling. People talk about the hook, people talk about the top roll and press and all these different moves in arm wrestling. I feel very strongly that this is a poor way to think about it. What you should think about is combining all these aspects of arm wrestling and just looking at it like that. Like an aspect of arm wrestling is rising or cupping, which is a hook. People talk about a hook. Well, you can be arm wrestling, top rolling, but have a hooking aspect to it. Anyways, I'm going to talk specifically about the hooking aspect tonight and how to train it off the table for on-table applications. So, if I'm going to arm wrestle in a hooking aspect, the thing is I'm normally not doing a complete full hand hook. Normally I'm going one direction or the other. In arm wrestling you have a division point, inside or outside, and you always have that. You can go right down the middle, but there's always a division of inside or outside. So when it comes to hooking, inside or outside, you've got a lower hook, a hook that attacks your opponent's arm and rotation. So I'm going to hook this way. Also, I could hook with higher aspect, attacking my opponent's hand a little bit more, okay? And that's going to come this way, okay? Just a subtle difference. But the high hook is coming through the top, coming down on his knuckle, and the low hook is coming onto his arm. And full hand tries to take them both. Anyways, so this is, I feel, such an invaluable tool to get that directional aspect to it. So it's really simple. All I do is I take PVC piping of different sizes. Okay. This one's for like David Randall, right? And this is for like a smaller guy, middle guy. And what I typically do with it is attach it to a pulley. Okay. Roll it so that it wants to spin my hand open, just like any top roller does, because the hooking aspect counters the rolling aspect, right? Hooking counters rolling. So I can set up for low. Okay. So this is me coming down on my opponent's arm. Bam. Okay. Or I could set up high. Okay, high, to hook my opponent's hand. Hook my opponent's hand. When hooking up to the cable, what I take into consideration is when hooking high, I will typically use more of a straight angle, okay, as a vector, okay? When hooking low, I will typically use a higher cable, okay? But in all my hooking aspects, I will generally not dip below parallel. I will not hook upwards, okay? I will hopefully already have my hook set, and then I'll do a different exercise for that. But for offensive hooking, it's straight to down, anywhere in this field. I hope that helps. Hi, hookers.
Don't move, ready, go! Straps. So in this vid we're going to talk all about strap training, strap pulling. We understand before we get started that different federations are going to have different sets of rules and are going to be tight on different things. We understand that. However, you can still use what we're going to give you in this vid to the best of your ability within your federation. So talk about strap training, okay? When we train in practice, we actually put a very high priority on strap pulling because you can actually do a higher force output while pulling in the strap. So we will train strap at the beginning of our practice when we're fresh, and normally we will degrade until pulling out of the strap. We actually feel that strap pulling is a higher form of arm wrestling. And we also use a 1.5 inch strap typically as opposed to your standard 1 inch, just because you can do more matches in the 1.5 inch before your skin gets ripped up and stuff like that. Let's talk about reasons why pulling the strap.
One of the reasons why I like to go for the strap is sometimes I have a hard time containing my opponent. Sometimes if he's a lot taller than me and he's coming back, he's running away from me, sometimes I just got to dump him, let him go, and get the strap so I can have a better time containing him. I can fight better with my own back pressure instead of only relying on my hand to do that for me. So sometimes strap just gives me an advantage against a certain puller.
I like to compare it to a deadlifter. So if you're doing a deadlift as much as you can, well, guess what? You're going to be able to deadlift more, and it doesn't matter how strong your hands are once you put straps on. And it's the same thing in arm wrestling. Like, you can arm wrestle a guy so hard, well, you put the straps on and you're going to be able to be even stronger. There's going to be points on the strap that you can pull against just to add more force. Another thing about the strap, when you think about it like that, is right away I can do a force in the straps and he is forced to feel it, whether he wants to or not. And this isn't true outside of the straps. There are many pressures outside of the straps that when I move, he doesn't necessarily feel them. But if I choose to rotate in the straps, if I choose to rise in the straps, if I choose to just bring my elbow close to my body, because we're tied together, we are connected more, and he's instantly going to feel those pressures.
So when it comes down to choosing yourself why you want to strap against a certain puller, sometimes maybe yourself, you're just a better puller in the straps. Sometimes your opponent may not be a very good strap puller. Sometimes he's very good outside of the strap, but you know if you get him in the strap, you can tilt the scale in your favor. So it's going to come down to knowing your opponent, knowing yourself, and however in that scale that fits in to tip all the advantages to your side, that will dictate whether or not you choose to go to a strap with a puller or go outside of the strap with him.
Another reason, consideration on whether or not you're going to pull in the straps is knowing the referee and the format. So some referees and leagues are tighter, like we said before, but the format is very important if you're pulling in a super match. If we're switching side of the tables, there is a big advantage, we feel, to having a certain side of the table, and we'll go over that in a minute. But if we're going to do a super match, and I feel that I have the bad side of the table for the strap, I may choose to hold on to my opponent a little bit more if I was thinking about doing an inside technique at some point during the format. I may do that on a side where I feel that the strap is not going to help me. Because if you do an outside technique, you're more likely to end up in the strap. So we'll talk about how to get into the straps.
Okay, so if I want to attain straps against my opponent, I'm going to want to do it legally, the safest way possible, and the most effective way possible. So one of the ways I choose on going for a strap against pretty well anybody is I'm going to have a little bit of a kickback in my wrist. I'm going to be very high on my riser. This knuckle is going to be as high as I possibly can get it. I'm going to try and get my opponent to hang on to me. I may load up into him just a little bit. I'm actually hitting into his fingertips. So I'm not coming straight up on my post. I'm not going that way. I'm actually hitting into his fingertips, and I'm rolling away from him. So I'm hitting up and going away. So my palm is facing my opponent. I'm very high on my riser. This is very important. I'm actually kicking back a little bit so we can see it again. I'm just coming way outside, hitting into his fingertips, and rolling away from him like that.
This style of arm wrestling, whether you see your palm or whether you don't, as soon as you are posting and doing any kind of kickback of the wrist, you're committing to a full outside style of arm wrestling. At no point are you choosing really to commit to holding on. So if your opponent is choosing to pull outside with you, you are getting the straps. And if he chooses to hold on to you, like if you're doing the kickback style, and it's to his advantage technically as well, and the strap is not going to help him. So if I'm an outside puller, he's getting straps. If I'm an inside puller, he's got the hand position he wants anyways. If you don't feel that you can have any real success up high, a less preferred option would be to set up high and really think about the rotation of your palm. Really lock your rotator, okay? And you're gonna try and hit high, okay? But you're gonna probably end up losing your hand a little bit because he's too dominant. And at this point, you're not gonna give up your cup. Sorry, you are going to give up your cup slightly, and you're gonna lock your rotation. You're gonna ball through the bottom of his hand, okay? You're gonna keep on with your pronator really strong, okay? You're gonna top roll, and you're gonna ball through the bottom of his hand. You have to be very cautious in this style. You may get called on a foul, but worse, you may get beaten quickly if your opponent senses it. If your opponent senses you're committing to an outside move without good hand position, really, he can come at you and he can bury you right here in a press. Okay? So you still have to arm wrestle very soundly and know that you have to get out of there before he does it. There's flop style arm wrestling as well, but we're not going to cover that in this video. We feel it is advanced and it has a lot more element of risk to it, but it is definitely another way to get the straps.
So now we'll try and go over some advantages, in the strap. So a lot of it mirrors the same things outside the strap, but we'll go over them all anyways. So we're going to deal right now with hand height. Your webbing. You want your webbing to be higher than your opponent. So you want to be higher here than your opponent. So
On the way to this, we will also cover placement. So as the strap is getting put on, first off, when you think you're going to get the straps, you want to be the side that I am on, okay? This side of the table, I do not want the buckle on my hand. When the strap is being placed over, you want to bend your wrist back slightly so that the strap, okay, is going to fall more towards your wrist as opposed to your hand. So just when the strap is being put on, just bend your wrist back slightly so the strap is encouraged to fall down the back of your hand. As the strap is being tightened, when it comes to hand height, the referee is going to tell you to put your elbow to the back of the pad. Now, if you subtly bring it forward, you will increase your hand height. This can be done to varying degrees of success depending on the referee. When the strap is being placed, when you talk about hand position, you want to hide your palm, you want to open your palm a little bit and push your hand forward, okay? The reason why is when it gets closed, you will get a higher webbing, okay? You always want to be sliding the elbow forward. It's like a regrip, just done before you're even arm wrestling. Another thing is you want to be pushing your opponent's hand down, right? Like this. Okay? So instead of pushing forward on the pad a lot, you're going to be just pushing your opponent's hand down. Generally, as a rule, all straps will come towards you. You want this strap here to be close to you. You want this strap here to be close to you. All straps close to you. I've heard a lot of pullers talk about they want a high strap. I have never understood why you want anything but a low strap. In all positions, it's going to help you mechanically.
So as the straps are tightened, that's not your final grip. You still have a grip to negotiate with your opponent. The referee will apply the straps, he'll tighten them. You then have the option to continue negotiating for a grip. So I may come into Devon, try and get higher webbing inside that strap. Bang, I've got it, and I'm set. I'm good to go. We can still see our thumb knuckles. My wrist is still straight. Everything's still legal. However, I have elevated myself up inside of that strap. One caveat here is if my opponent is extremely tall and I try and make that punch, and he's taller than me, and he continues to rise himself, I ran out of room, and he's playing up there. So he then can reestablish his height through not necessarily my mistake, but he realizes what I'm doing, and he just jumps on it. It's his to take.
Right? When you talk about arm wrestling in the strap, one of the big overriding principles is that your priority is pulling the strap. When you pull outside of the strap, you really have to be pulling on your opponent's hand and arm to make things happen, right? And when I think about my priorities outside of the strap in fundamental arm wrestling, I'm talking about rise, cup, and don't be rolled, right? Don't make that opponent see your palm, right? Your pronator is a stabilizer, but rise, cup, and roll, okay? This is, I believe, fundamental arm wrestling. Now, in the strap, I believe that changes slightly. I believe in a strap, because you are connected, and because whatever you do, he feels, and the additional things that you can do that you can't do outside of a strap, the hierarchy is a little bit different. I feel the first thing is you want to load this portion, okay? You do that by simply rising, okay? That's my first load. High, okay? Now my second load is not cup, it's rotation, right? So rise, rotation, right? Because all I care about is loading the strap. First one, second one, third one. The cup to me is not as important in this style of armor in strap pulling. The cup drops considerably. I want this strap, load my rotator, load that strap. Because I'm stronger just to connect here than I am with my cup. I will pull with my cup, but this is more of a priority to me. And that's what I think is fundamental strap arm wrestling. When you re-grip in the straps, you're not only changing the position of your hand, you are also moving the straps towards you. You are trying to pull the straps basically right off his hand. You know, you want to continue to change that angle right there. By re-gripping, you can re-grip farther than you can out in an unstrapped match. You can get massive, massive advantages, and you can continue to change the angle.
I think we covered most of what we can in strap pulling. I hope you enjoy it. Pretty much high hookers rule.
Do the same thing, only harder.